What's up, guys? So I've been experimenting with a lot of ideas when it comes to like when it comes to the spring steel, the coil spring steel, the 5160 spring steel. Experimenting with different types of designs when it comes with the Rivet lock bulk, and over the years, I've kind of been honing in on kind of like a final version. Now this one came out really bad. Unfortunately, I fucked up. This is a prototype. I'm experimenting different ideas that I've been learning for a scout knife. So I'm starting to run out of the steel that I use for the rivet lock bulkos. So I'm thinking now I have this other steel which is much larger stock. So I thought, why not making kind of a thick batonable scout knife? And because often when I'm here, this blade, it might be a little difficult to just grab and go. Sometimes I just want to grab something that's beefy, big, but not like I don't need to chop with it in the sense that I'm going to be, you know, hacking my way through a forest. With this one, you can. This one's great because you can chop through all the branches very, very easily since it's sort of designed for that. But sometimes you just want to grab something beefy, strong, that you can hack with still, but is like just overall just a meaty, delicate edge kind of blade, something that can do some fine cutting, something that's just got a bit of just some meat to it. Now, these came out really badly. I think it's because I used pins that were just too small. But you see here what I've done. I've added like a little hole at the back so you can have a lanyard. I need to improve this side of the handle. I need like a wider shape, I think. I want it to go narrow. I want it to go kind of just straight and flat. The problem with a paracord handle like this is you can't have too much curvature because the paracord doesn't really necessarily compress and stretch out. It's very stiff material, but this is the rough idea going forwards. And I tempered this much lower, so it should be a lot harder. And I'm going to be basically batoning the crap out of this and just beating the crap out of it. And I'm going to start slow and then just sort of work my way into legitimately trying to break it, or maybe not like legitimately trying to break it, but at least put it to the extremes. The blade shape, this is something that I've started to lean into a lot recently. I got a new, rather pretty large contact wheel, and this is a blade shape that I've started to really quite appreciate and quite like, because you get all the benefits of the pical and these recurve blades. It's basically right there. So when you're cutting with it, you can cut it like it's a recurve, like a reverse grip blade. So you get most of the benefits of having a pical. Then you have a tanto tip, which is really, really cool because this has really deep penetration power on the tanto tips. That cutting area, it's really nice for doing that. So and then a really, really thick spine. So you get a really, really meaty blade, and you get a lot of the benefits of the pical, and you get a really nice, aggressive tanto tip, which is just, aesthetically, at least, it's like fucking awesome. So it's really, really cool. I like that curvature that cuts off. But the benefit of that too is that now you can keep this part pointy and sharp, because one of the sort of negatives, the cons of a pical, is that it's quite difficult to hone the tip if you damage it severely. At least here now you can sharpen from both sides. So the rivet lock has also been improved over the years. You see, much more round, so you get a really, really nice lock. And it's crazy how hard that lock actually is. It does require a lot of force to pull, but then when you use your thumb, it kind of feels like it's not even all that much force. So it's very securely locked. And you get a spot to put both your fingers. So, like this. I need to figure out what to do about these, because the normal method that I have of doing it is I have a large piece of metal and I just use the angle grinder to cut my way down it, and I create like these, you know, gaps that fit down like this over the tang. So I wanted to try a faster approach where I get really, really thick tubing, and on the tubing I lathe it, so I cut it to pieces and I lathe both sides and I finish it on both sides. It's very thick. It's like 6 millimeter thick tubing or something. And then I put the tube over the tang, or I heat it up, and then I squish it around. Well, first I carve out the sections where they slot into, right, from below. And then I forge it around lightly. Then I pin it from the top on both sides here. One thing that I'd like to try and do is, instead of having it go around like that, even though it's very charming, I could just put 4 pieces, so you'd have one on each side like this. So you'd have 2 pieces there and then 2 pieces here, and that would actually remove all the issues that I have trying to make this. So that's tempting, but there's a certain type of kind of charm to this style. Usually they're much taller, right? Which is nice for grip, but at the same time I was thinking, wouldn't it, something more streamlined? It's still there, but it's just, it's like it's like, how do you say, just more streamlined, And I like to have a lot of metal on the pommel of knives because it protects, the pommel does get a lot of damage. You do impact, like this here on the side of me, it impacts into a lot of stuff, and there's no damage on the wood because the only thing that hits anything is this steel. So it's the same with, inside the waistband carry. If you're leaning over a grinder or something and your pommel sticks out, you can easily damage that. So it's nice to have a lot of steel there. I haven't tested this hole yet, but I think that would be really cool to try, because then you can sort of, how do you say, I've started to enjoy having those little things there, because at least in sort of your EDC scenarios, it's just like that. The way I use this one is I pull it out like that, right? And I use it and then click. See, it's not attached to anything, I just slide it in like that, and that works as well with the inside the waistband if you have it attached. So like, oops. So this is like that. So you can do that. And that's still possible to do with this knife. You can easily have this inside the waistband, right? It's tugging on my shirt. It's still big. It's pretty big, but you can hide it if you want to. So, but yeah. So this has been a lot of experimentation. The sheath design. I have twice as many eyelets on these sheets, but this blade, it really didn't come out good. So it's more of a representation, just trying out a whole bunch of ideas in one go to kind of get to the next step of where the design is going. But yeah, they would have extra holes. Like, you just have to have it. I just feel like you have to have an eyelet at least like once every like half inch or centimeter or whatever. But yeah, so on this particular one, the blade and the forging came out super nicely. The rivet came out pretty good. Most of the finish came out really good. The handle came out mostly good. That came out really good. The only thing that really failed were these two. They were supposed to come out quite forged, and but there was an issue where these pins that I used at the top, they were slightly undersized, and because of that, there wasn't enough like force and to kind of keep it in place, and then just like all this bullshit started happening. So, but it's close. It's close. It's close. I have another one forged, like same blade shape. So I'm just thinking what I'm going to do about the handle, because the only thing that really The only thing about this that I'm struggling with, other than one mistake I've already fixed, and I don't know why I did it on this one again, so it doesn't really count. But I don't even know now what I was going to say. Yeah, I'd like to do something. I need to work on maybe swelling up this area so it's actually bigger at the back. Or some kind of shape where the power cord still works, but there's maybe more curvature. You see, I actually tried to have some curvature and I actually tried to go with a pretty severe curvature, but after all the grinding was done to kind of fit everything in place, obviously the curvature kind of mellowed out. So, but I like the way that the guard sticks out from here. That's cool. Kind of like a good spot to protect your fingers. So I don't like sharpening choils. I've started to not use them. Now, there's two ways to look at it with those sharpening choils. Yeah, they do help with sharpening. You can use a much wider variety of sharpening stones and sharpening equipment to do a good job when you have a sharpening choil. I don't know, like, theoretically the idea is that it does make it stronger, but there's kind of two ways to look at it, right? You're removing a lot of metal. So does that really mean that it's stronger? It is, because metal is strong. So if you remove metal, does that are you removing strength? And then does the sharpening choil actually add strength, or does it actually add a stress riser? And I don't know. I haven't seen enough tests, and I've seen a lot of blades break from the sharpening choil to, some, jimping or something like that, or part of the, there's all sorts of shit like that happens all the time with those. So, but overall, I'm like 90% pleased. I'm just really kind of pissed off that these didn't come out so good, because it would have actually been like a completely, sellable knife, even though it's a prototype. But in this condition, it's not sellable. That's why I used the red sheath, which I think actually looks pretty cool. I think I should have done like a red handle instead. But overall, very, very cool. And I think you'll definitely see more of this. I did carve out a lot of weight from the handle, but I think I'm going to add it. I'm going to keep it on there because it is quite light. It is quite light, and I was chopping with it. It chops pretty good. But I do feel like maybe this is the kind of knife that you don't want to take too much weight off. You're not trying to make it as light as possible. You want to, having that little extra mass does help. Even if it's 10, 15, 20 grams, it does help with the chop. It doesn't slip out of your hand because of the power cord. It stays pretty much locked into your hand, but it is missing something here. And I deliberately created this shape because I wanted to kind of test out a little bit. I thought this would be more pronounced and stick out more, so your finger could actually ride on something, but you can see that kind of mismatch here. But what was I going to say? So I have to, figure something out for this area. Probably just maybe a wider pommel so that it flares out a little bit. I'm not sure. That would be the easiest solution. I'd like to have also a Menuki. Menukis would really help too. That would be sick. But I don't even know like how to even start with that. But I think also, honestly, I think most people would be totally fine with 3D printed Menukis, because like all that extra added effort of, I don't know, casting shitloads of Menukis. I mean, granted, 10 would create 5 knives, so you get pretty far even with just a couple hours of work, but it's a lot of added hassle and a lot of like added maintenance and stuff to the machine. So, but yeah, so I think you'll be seeing a lot more blade shapes like this one coming through. I've been really quite enjoying this blade shape. I don't have anything available for sale like this just yet, so I won't be able to even start making these like properly as a series for a long time. But I'll be making them occasionally, like one. That's probably how I'm gonna end up being forced to do it anyway, just making one at a time, because they do take like 2 or 3 days to make. It's it's not like a quick knife to make either. It's I don't know how many hours of work, 12, maybe a bit more, I don't know. So if you do, because I'm working on multiple projects per day, so maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. That's just one knife. So, which and takes away from doing all the other knives that are more like selling more like all the time. Cheaper knives like the Ranch, the V3 Ranch. I have a very large stockpile of the V3 ADCR V3 carbon steel blanks from a couple years ago, and because I've stopped wrapping those handles because it's so much work doing the Tsukamaki wrap. It's kind of like high-end work, so I reserve it just for the stainless steel ones now, and there's maybe 20 or so, 30 carbon steel ones that have the wrapping, and those are gonna be the last ones that are gonna be sold like that, and then after that, I'm just gonna reserve all of those blanks for the Ranch model, because the Ranch model is 39 euros. I don't know what that is in dollars, but the Americans don't have the 24% VAT, so you gotta do like a little bit of extra algebra there. And what was I gonna say? Maybe just look at the blade while I'm talking. So yeah, I don't think once it's sort of sorted out, these are not going to be like $300 knives. They're going to be much more expensive. It's going to be like $350 minimum. I'm trying to make it like cheaper by simplifying different parts. Like for example, with the ring system, which actually worked really well. It's just I haven't done it enough to really get used to it and avoid all the mistakes that you make the kind of first time you're experimenting with something, which it was kind of stupid to experiment so much with a knife that came out so well, but you stick to the plan, you know. If you have a plan, I've found over the years, you just stick to your original intention, stick to the original plan, try not to deviate too much. Sometimes that'll get you really, really, really far, really, really quick, because you're not stopping at any moment to kind of like reconsider it, you know, what you're doing. You just keep going and with the original plan, and then you stop when you say you stop, and you know, that tends to work out pretty well. And this project, it was like that. Fuck it, done. You know, it's just a prototype. It was always supposed to be. It was really, really nicely forged. I was really psyched about this one, and it's just a damn shame that those guard and pommel came out poorly. But they had a forged texture on them. They were very, very nice before they got all mangled up. So the lower temper actually is quite nice. I was using this knife just now for quite a while, testing the edge, chopping through branches, carving through things, you know, kitchen paper, toilet paper, all that kind of stuff. And I like so far I like the added edge retention, but at the same time, I also have no idea how brittle the blade is. It could be that I throw this against the fucking door and it breaks, you know? Didn't break. Let's try one more. I got close there. Well, it didn't break. Throwing knives is usually a pretty quick way to determine whether it's too brittle. I didn't get any problems there with the edge. It was rolling on the gravel there pretty bad, but oops. But this is one of the reasons why I really like this recurve. Just this recurve edge profile is just so sick. It's a pretty thick blade on the spine, so isn't that great? Just see how crazy that just slices through. Anyway, so very high performance blade. I don't see any kinks. So it's a good heat treat. As far as I mean, yeah, you can see how poor these came out. I had to power through and dig shit into there and everything. But so far, I think, yeah, there's really no like kinks or any damage, and that's the beauty of a steel pommel. You know, it's lands on the gravel, hits some fucking shit if you throw it or whatever, and who cares? It's metal, right? Handle's intact. It's just you're protecting so much of the handle by just having the steel protrusions from both sides, you know? But yeah, you saw that I threw it 3-something times. I haven't thrown knives for a while, so. And one of the nice things, as you see, because so much of this blade is hidden under there, even if it's rolling on the ground, you have a lower chance of actually hitting that edge and kinking it, so. But yeah, not bad. I think so far I'm enjoying the new heat treat. But we don't know how tough it is yet, so. And the problem is I can't just do a 90-degree bend test, because the 90-degree bend test isn't just it's not just testing the heat treat, it's also testing the integrity of the design. But the problem is this design is already compromised because I had to drill another hole through there using a carbide fucking drill bit to get through this steel. It was so hard, this steel. And then just smash another rivet on top because that came out so, you know, I just fucked it up so badly. But so, you know, you have here, there's the section for the thing to slide over. There's a 2mm pin there, and then there's a 3mm pin in the middle. So it's already compromised from like a 90-degree bend test perspective if we wanted to test the strength of the design, not just the heat treat. I'd have to get the same heat treat, but with the properly made one before I can do a 90-degree bend test. Problem is, it's a lot of work to make these knives just to break them like that, so I try to use them a little bit more responsibly. But this one, I don't know if it really matters. I think there's no point in testing like batoning through a knot because, again, it's a compromised design. It's not the design that I'm making or want to make. So there's no point in, you know, treating this one necessarily like trash, because I'm not going to learn anything unless it never breaks, regardless of what I do with it, and it's basically indestructible. And if that's the case, then having that imperfection or that added, you know, compromisation there makes no difference or doesn't affect the performance, then yeah, that's even better news. But I don't know. I just feel like if I'm going to do like super abusive tests on a knife, I'm going to build the knife properly, what it's supposed to be, and then you test what it's actually going to be, and you have the most realistic test results. Because otherwise you're just going to waste all your fucking time. And I already wasted a lot of time today trying to fix that up, so. So yeah, I think really cool blade shape. I think you guys are really going to enjoy where this one is going. Really just sick. I'm a huge fan of this blade shape right now. I think it's just a scalp shaped blade. I don't think there's anything new about this, you know. I'm not inventing anything new here. One thing I did do different with this knife is I now have a hollow style edge, kind of like this. I did it on a contact wheel. And that's different. I usually do like just a more convex style edges because I didn't have this new contact wheel, and also those are a really good way to get a very keen, tough, high durability out the box edge that with a very low chance of damaging or scratching the blade while you're sharpening it. So but yeah, that's I think all I have for you guys today. This is the Scout. I think we're gonna call this the Scout series, the CC series. And I was gonna try and avoid. I was trying to get myself into a situation where I could do these like this, but I'm starting to like realize more and more that it might be impossible to do them like this. I have to keep doing them the old way, but whatever. These are fully handcrafted knives. They're fully forged. I mean, if you want, it's like I do my best to make cheap knives, good knives, everything kind of knives that are like as high quality as possible. And if it takes 3 or 4 days to make something like this, I can't sell it for $200. But I do have versions of this knife that don't have all these fancy gimmicks that I've already made and sold one, and that's gonna be like much cheaper, like $190 or something, because I'm just forging the shape and grinding the random shapes. There's not all this precision. I don't have to like file and measure and carve out precise fittings to fit in places, and then do like precise holes and get everything kind of like perfect and measured. Because you gotta, especially if you have them sticking out, there has to be like a perfect measurement, because otherwise it's too big or too small. So I like to have it kind of like this is a good measurement. The width of your knuckles is a good, I think, length for having them locked between two guards, right? If you have like right here and there, I think that's a good, because if you can do that and squeeze them between there, you get like a really good grip. And then if it's like, even if it curls over enough, you can actually squeeze your hand in there and the knife doesn't fall out. So, but yeah, the Rivet Lock Scout. How about that? So again, this is just a representation. The blade is perfect. I love this as well. I love these added little dots too. I just had to work on the pommel, the guard, and the pommel guard thing too. So, but pretty neat. Have a good one, boys.